I want to start with what's referred to these days as the Los Angeles PD Media Office, which has a great deal of influence on a lot of product, both in television and in Hollywood. A young cop named Gene Roddenberry got a job with the media office as a speechwriter for then LAPD police chief Bill. I can't remember his name right now, which is so annoying. He's the guy who invented racial profiling. Bill Parker. That's him, Bill Parker. So Gene Roddenberry was a speechwriter for the original bad cop of Los Angeles, Wild Bill Parker. And he got it, and through this position, and through his job in the media office, he also got a job as the police technical consultant on a show called Mr. District Attorney. And he went from being the police technical consultant on Mr. District Attorney to submitting scripts to the production staff of Mr. District Attorney and finding his stuff on TV. So the technical consultant became a TV writer. And he started writing pilots for his own TV show. Now, everybody knows Star Trek. That's the one that was successful in the end. His first pilot, however, was for a police anthology show called Police Story, which was coincidentally similar to another police anthology show called Police Story. The pilot was written by Joseph Wambaugh in the 70s, which actually did sell and end up on TV. So Gene Roddenberry was trying to make this show in the 60s, and it didn't work. And so they came back to it in the 70s with a different cop turned writer.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Now, the reason that I bring this up is because we don't necessarily think of Star Trek as propaganda. But it's worth noting that the guy who created Star Trek came out of the media office. And that's why even though there's lots of great socialist stuff in Star Trek, you also keep seeing the USS Enterprise play cop. Now, his second pilot, which did sell and which ended up on TV for a season before it was canceled, was a military show called The Lieutenant. Now, keep in mind that this was while we still had people stationed in Korea, even though the war was already on pause. We hadn't really amped up in Vietnam yet, but we had people in Vietnam. So Gene Roddenberry does a show about a U.S. Army lieutenant played by Gary Lockwood trying to run his platoon on a U.S. Army base in the U.S. Now, there were some good things in The Lieutenant. The Lieutenant starred Nichelle Nichols as the wife of one of the enlisted men in the platoon, and she did really good work on the show, and the show actually did a lot of good conversations about civil rights in the U.S. Army, but it's still a pro-U.S. Army TV show about liberalism in the U.S. in the empire.
Thought so.
And this was on TV for about a season before it got canceled. And that was his second pilot and his first actual TV show on the air himself. So imperialist propaganda. And then Star Trek sells. And Star Trek is definitely in a different direction in some ways, but in the end, you have guys in uniform enforcing street justice in deep space. And for all the good stuff in Star Trek, in the end, it's still the cops who decide what's right and what's wrong. And I think that's even more useful to talk about than some of the actual examples of more blatant propaganda, is how there is a